we're going to actually start giving out some hardware for this one. We're going to give some mid-season awards. It's roughly mid-season, give or take 6 and 1.5 a dozen, close enough to mid-season awards. We're going to go AL, NL. We're going to look at MVP, Cy Youngs, rookies, and managers. We're going to keep it quick. We're going to keep it simple. We're just going to go down who we think would be bringing home some trophies if they were giving it around right now. I'll go ahead and lead the way, and we will go and start in the AL. So AL, I'll start with MVP. I don't have a hot take on this one. I don't have like a surprise. I don't have like a flexing records. I think right now it's Aaron Judge at this point. Don't love the idea of it, but he's leading in so many major hitting categories. He's 5th in the AL in batting average on top of it. So it's not like he's just home run or bust. He's actually hitting the ball. He just also happens to crank it out of the park as well as anybody. Say what you want about Yankee Stadium, but it still gets out there. Top in RBIs. He's played incredibly well in the outfield too. It's not like he's slacking defensively. Like he's chasing records. Like he's chasing his own records from a couple of years ago. So I'm going with Aaron Judge at this point. I know there's some Gunnar Henderson's in that conversation. There's some other guys that you can make a strong case for, but I'm just gonna take the low hanging fruit. I'm gonna go with Aaron Judge on this one. I think statistically speaking, he's in a good spot for it.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate.
We won't spend too much time on that one too. We'll go now into the AL Cy Young. This one I'm going to go with Tariq Skubal from Detroit. Top 5 in strikeouts, top 5 in ERA, top 5 in Ws. Pretty much for lack of better terms, the holy trinity of pitching, and he's top 5 in all of them. And a comfortable top 5 as well. Obviously, there's other stats as well to get into, but the 3 main ones there, it's like passing touchdowns, passing yards, and that sort of thing, and completion percentage in football. Like you look at those main 3, then you work off of that. Top 5 in all of them. Consistently, he's one of the few bright spots for him. He's consistently performed. So I'm going to take Tariq Skubal, but I do think AL Cy Young's a little bit close to. I think there'll be some fluctuation. I don't know if it'll be this way in 3 weeks. I think right now I'm going to give him the slight nod at the top.
I like that, actually. It's unique, though, because the Tigers are one of those teams that are in a weird position, right? They're not necessarily the best, and we just talked about this in the tip-off with my opinions on having players represented, maybe not even from the best teams, but if they're the best player, why not? And I think that's a situation there where pitching-wise, it's hard to argue against them in the AL right now, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one, man. The NL Cy Young is where it's really interesting right now. When you have 2 guys from the same team, arguably in the top 3, with Suarez and Wheeler from the Phillies, I'm going to go with Zach Wheeler from the Phillies. He's top 10 in ERA, just like his teammate, top 10 in wins like him as well. But he's also top 10 in strikeouts, where Suarez is in the 20s, I believe. He still gets the win, still get the result. I'm going to give him a slight edge towards strikeouts because when you can strike people out, I think it gives you a little bit of a notch above, and I think that's going to carry over into the second half of the season a little bit better. So I'm going to take Zach Wheeler for now for the NL Cy Young. I know in some places I have Suarez as a favorite, some have Wheeler. Incredible that the 2 best pitchers, arguably in the entire NL, are on the same team. Still absolutely bananas, and they both have like arguably the top 2 as far as like in the running for Cy Young, and they're both in that 2's ERA too. Like they're both playing fantastic. So we're gonna go with Zach Wheeler, knowing darn well that could change in 2 weeks just as quickly as the AL too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree that those 2 that you mentioned are 2 of the top 3. I have a different top 2, but you know what? I will give you one of them is there for sure.
The question is which one? Well, we will find out here very shortly as well. So for the AL Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Wyatt Langford for the Rangers for no other reason than he has been on a hot streak for the last month or so. So if it is a close competition, the AL, which I think it's much closer than the NL, which we'll talk about later, I do think for AL Rookie of the Year it's close, and he is right now the leader because he went ballistic for the last month or so, especially what he did to the Dodgers not too long ago. I mean, 5 home runs in 3 games. Yeah, I'll let that. That's a good way to propel you to the top, at least for this ranking as of right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think there's any doubting that.
Not at all. So next we're gonna wrap it up with manager, and for AL manager, I think this one, I don't want to say obvious, but I'm gonna say it for me. It's very straightforward. I'm gonna go with Stephen Vogt, the manager of the Guardians. Last year they would go weeks where they would struggle to get runs. This year they barely go innings without getting runs. He has flipped the team completely on its head. You have the leading hit percentage in Stephen Kwan. You have 2 guys in the top 10 with home runs in Josh Naylor and Jose Ramirez. Jose's also up there with RBIs as well. They've pitching staff wise, there was a little bit of concern with their pitching coming into the year. No, they've been fine. They've pitched good enough to where they can win shootouts. They'll still have a few lulls here and there, but they'll score touchdowns in games now. Last year they were lucky to get safeties. That's how incredible their turnaround's been. So I'm gonna go with Stephen Vogt in the AL. They're tied for the best win percentage, I believe, in the AL at the time of the recording. So their turnaround's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pick for the AL Manager of the Year, I got to say. A little disappointed I couldn't get to that one first, I got to be honest.
You know what? You're up next year, and you have plenty to go with. But before we jump into you, I'll go ahead and just recap for AL midseason awards. I got Aaron Judge as MVP, Tariq Skubal as Cy Young, Rookie of the Year Wyatt Langford, and AL Manager, as I said, Stephen Vogt. So, Kelcey, you are up, good sir, for the AL.
Yeah. So AL MVP, I think you're exactly right. Aaron Judge, top 5 in every hitting statistic in the AL right now, and I do mean every single hitting statistic. OPS, average, home runs, RBIs, runs, hits, all of them are top 5. Only player to be in the top 5 in their league in every single statistic. Now, does that mean he's the best in every single one? No, but he's the best in 3 of the 5 or 6 that I rattled off just there. So yeah, easily Aaron Judge, hands down, AL MVP. As of today, might change, but I doubt it. But betting, I will say, betting odds for the AL MVP, for people wondering about that, do have a closer race in the AL MVP than they do in the NL MVP. So say with that what you will, but kind of strange if you ask me. But hey, whatever. All right, so AL, I'm gonna go with maybe not the second best guy in the pitching world in the AL right now. I'm not gonna go Tariq Skubal. I do think that's a good pick. I'm not gonna go Seth Lugo. I also think he's probably up a good pick, and for most people, I'm gonna go Corbin Burns. I think Corbin Burns is having a good season. 2.43 ERA. He's also top 5, tied with 9 wins in the season. He's looking at top number 1 for games started, complete games. He's also in the top 10 there for the AL. So it's, there's no reason not to look at him and wonder, maybe he can do a little bit more. Especially, he's got a good team behind him this year. So Corbin Burns might finally get the love he deserves now that he's not in the NL anymore. So that's where I'm going. I'm going Corbin Burns here, and maybe it's a stretch. I don't know. We'll see.
I like that pick, though. I like that one for sure.
Yeah, so there's my AL pitcher, Cy Young. Now my manager of the year. We talked about the Tigers just a minute ago when you mentioned Tariq Skubal. They're in a weird position. They're 43 and 49 right now, 15 games back in the Central. Can they make a playoff push? I don't know. I don't know, but I want them to make a playoff push, which is why I'm thinking AJ Hinch. In the reality of this, though, I think I'm going to go with a division-leading team in the Seattle Mariners. And I'm going to go with them for their manager here. And for the life of me, I cannot remember his name. And I'm trying to find it, but it's not wanting to work for me. But yeah, the Mariners, given their season, given their leading the West, a division, by the way, with the Astros, where everybody picked the Astros. Scott Servais, that's who's their manager, sorry. But yeah, he is doing a great job. He's leading the team perfectly. I don't think you can ask for a better situation for the Mariners right now. You have one of the best players in Julio Rodriguez. You have one of the best hitting catchers in Cal Raleigh right now. They have a lot of talent across the board. And what they've been able to do in leading the West at the break is huge. And it can't be understated. You're not just leading the Astros, you're also leading the Texas Rangers. And if anybody remembers what the Rangers did in October, you will also be thinking, that's wild that they're leading the Rangers. Well, they are. The Seattle Mariners are on top of the AL West, and it's just amazing right now.
I know statistically he hasn't been lighting it up, but I think Logan Gilbert's been really awesome on the mound for them too. I know statistically he doesn't look quite as electric as some of the other guys, some of the other pitchers we talked about, but I think he's been awesome for him too. Like, I'm not gonna say it's a guaranteed win when he hits the mound, but Mariner fans, I'm sure, feel very comfortable when he steps up to pitch.
Yeah, they should. They just honestly, you should. If you're a Mariners fan right now, you should feel more than happy about what they're doing and what every player on that team is doing right now. Maybe there's a couple positions maybe you can complain about. In the grand scheme of things, every team has that. So the majority of your 9 positions on the field right now, plus your manager, are doing pretty good if you're the Mariners.
Absolutely. I agree with you. That's a really good pick. I like that pick a lot.
Yeah. So last up, AL Rookie of the Year. I'm going Luis Gil for the New York Yankees. And so he does still qualify as a rookie, barely, just because he didn't pitch enough previous games. He's got a 3.27 ERA, 18 games started, doing pretty well there. Only giving up 57 hits, 36 runs given up. His strikeouts, 111 strikeouts for a rookie, doing pretty good there. Overall, 1.09 WHIP. I have no complaints. Obviously, could be better, but he's a rookie. I don't want a lot from a rookie pitcher. I can't ask for a lot from a rookie pitcher. And when a rookie pitcher gives you that, it's astronomical and legendary. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But as of the AL side, Luis Gil for me is my AL Rookie of the Year.
Honestly, our biggest concern was, especially with Garrett Cole's injury early on, when we did our preseason predictions, we knew the Yankees were going to score touchdowns, and I'm using that analogy again. The problem was, could they stop somebody? Could they actually get people out? And he filled a lot of that gap, especially early in the season for him, and he's continued to do it. So he's, honestly, if there wasn't a vendetta against having too many Yankees on this list, you know what? Maybe he'd be on mine too. I kid, of course, but he's been sensational as well. He's been the best rookie pitcher, I'd say, very comfortably, especially in the AL.
Absolutely. So just to recap, MVP Aaron Judge for the AL Cy Young Corbin Burns, Manager of the Year for the AL. I have Scott Servais from the Seattle Mariners, and then Rookie of the Year Luis Gil.
So as we wrap up the AL too, with just a little note, just like winter, the Astros are coming, according to our good friend.
Stop it, Hector. There's not enough trash cans.
You know what? Just cover up this here right now. Just make sure no one can see my wire. All right, we're good. So now we're going to head over to the NL. We're going to go give out some NL hardware too. NL MVP, I'm not going to surprise anybody. Listen, I'm going to go with Shohei Ohtani, the DH for the almost copy and paste everything I said about Aaron Judge to here. He's near the top in everything. The only thing he doesn't really do is play defense because he's a designated hitter and he can't pitch right now. And Mookie Betts left the lineup. He stepped up his game too. Like obviously the Dodgers are the super team. They're the Thanos of the NL right now, so it's kind of unfair, but he's been sensational. So we're going to give Shohei the NL MVP for now. I think someone like Bryce Harper is not too far away. I think he's top 5 in a lot of categories, and he actually plays defense. So, I'm gonna stick with Shohei Ohtani, but I think there's a chance. So I'm gonna stick with him for this one. For NL Cy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say yes. that's just safe.
That's a very safe pick. That if I'm putting down money, that's probably where it's going, even though the odds are like minus 300 or something like that right now. But we'll stick with it.
Yeah.
Let's see. And NL Cy Young, this is where it's a little bit fun. There's like 2 guys in the top 3. I think I mentioned them a little bit earlier. You got Zach Young and you got Suarez on the same team. They're both top 10 in ERAs. I think I already mentioned the NL Cy Young earlier by accident, but I'm going to go with Zach Wheeler. He's top 10 in ERA, strikeouts, wins. He's got more strikeouts than his teammate Suarez. They're both kind of in the top 3, I believe, for betting odds. I'm going to lean towards Wheeler because he has more strikeouts. He's top 10 in everything. Philly's been awesome. Like just from start to finish, they've been awesome. And pitching wise, you have 2 of arguably the 3 best in there. So we're going to go with Zach Wheeler for the NL Cy Young. I don't have any surprises here. Like this one, I think the surprise I picked him instead of Suarez, but you can't really go wrong with him, and a couple others are in the running too. I think the NL Cy Young race is very, very competitive.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. NL Rookie of the Year, I'm wasting 13 seconds on this one. It is Paul Skeens, and I am not told otherwise right now for a variety of reasons, including the fact that he is very, very good. Yep. Yes. Okay, cool. We're not wasting any time on that one.
I don't think I need to say anything about that one, but yes.
That one felt pretty good. That one felt pretty straightforward at this point. It felt like CJ Stroud in the NFL last year for rookie, or Wembenyama in the NBA. Like those Rookie of the Years almost seem stamped, sealed, and delivered at this point. NL Manager, I'm going to go a little off the grid here. I'm going to go with Brian Snitker from the Braves. I know they're definitely not winning their division, barring an epic collapse, but you lose Ronald Acuna and Strider, 2 of their 3 best players at worst, maybe even their 2 best players, and they're still in the thick of things. Like they're still in the wild card hunt. They could still make a run for that division. Like he's done a very, very good job considering what the firepower he's lost. I mean, you're losing, if I'm not mistaken, the NL MVP he's done for the season, the reigning NL MVP, and your top pitcher, who your fantasy team knows very well what the plan was for him. I know you still have Matt Olson. You still have the Braves are still the Braves, but you don't just lose those top 2 guys and then continue to be homeostasis like you are. So he's going to get the nod for now. He's not going to win it. Our end of the season award is not going to look the same, but as of right now, a tip of the cap to even keeping them as competitive as they are at this point, especially because they had kind of a rough start to the season too. They weren't exactly setting the league on fire. They had to right the ship, but right now they're 8 games behind the Phillies. They're locked in that first wild card. They're the fourth team in the NL to have 50+ wins. Like they're doing a great job. So I'm gonna go off the grid with that. I'm gonna go with Brian Snitker for NL manager.
I like that. I like Snitker as the pick. I know he's not in the top 5 in betting odds right now, but I'm sorry. You do what you do against injuries. Why are you not up there? You're also still, again, leading your division, or at least competitive in your division. And it's tough to not want to give them a nod, especially when they end up taking a wild card at the end of the year.
The top wild card spot too. I mean, they have the best non-division leading record in the NL. Like they're insane. But just to recap my NL awards: MVP, we're going to take Shohei Ohtani; Cy Young, Zach Wheeler from the Phillies; NL rookie, Paul Skeens, no surprise there; and for NL manager, Brian Snitker from the Braves. Kelcey, it is your turn to straddle the NL. So how are we feeling with the NL?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to straddle this guy. That's for sure. I know he's about to probably hit everything that swings his way or that comes his way, and that's Shohei Ohtani, my NL MVP. I don't think that's any surprise to anybody. We talked about how good Aaron Judge was, top 5 in every major statistical category in the hitting wise in the AL. Shohei Ohtani, first in OPS, average, first in average, home runs, first in home runs, RBIs. Hold on, third in RBIs. Runs scored, he's a top 10 guy in runs scored. And in hits, he's second to the reigning batting champion in the NL, Luis Arai, who's probably going to win it yet again because the dude just only hit singles. So Shohei Ohtani has had a fantastic season, as you said. By the way, doing this with a torn ligament in his right elbow, his pitching elbow, and he's still swinging this well. So the reason why he can't pitch, can't play in the field, obviously that elbow. But yeah, still a fantastic case for MVP. Will likely be our first DH to win MVP. And that's going to be pretty good.
So what you're saying is our MVPs, it's like Biggie and Tupac. It's the king of the coasts at this point. You got the East Coast and the West Coast king. Like it's not, and they're almost identical as far as leading everything in their league. So no complaints here. We're pretty similar on this one. Luckily, there's a little variety the rest of the way, though.
Yeah, there is. And that's going to take me to my Cy Young offering for the NL. You mentioned Suarez, you mentioned Zach Wheeler as the top 2 guys. And for me, I'm going to say no. I'm going neither of those 2 options. I'm going to go with the third option, or depending on the betting odds, some have him ranked number 1 up with Zach Wheeler on their betting odds, and that's Chris Sale. You mentioned what Snitker's doing. Well, part of that is because Chris Sale has been carrying the load for that team. We finally seen Chris Sale, the guy that was worth a lot of money for the Boston Red Sox. We're talking 3rd in ERA, 2nd in WHIP, number 1 in the NL in wins right now, 3rd in ERA, 3rd in strikeouts. He has the top 3 in those 3 major categories, and he's the only one of those 3 I just mentioned that are in every single one of those statistics. And that's crazy for a pitcher. Again, you talked about the big 3 being strikeouts, wins, and ERA, but then you add in WHIP and you add in, WHIP and ERA. I don't know why I was trying to come up with something else. But no, those are, you add in WHIP into that, and it's just like 0.94 WHIP is insane. Sub 1 WHIP at the end of the year is already insane. The best overall WHIP ever was like a 0.85, I believe. So borderline there, superhuman numbers. So yeah, give me Chris Sale for my NL Cy Young award winner, just because there's still a second half to play. And I just said they're going to make the playoffs, so somebody's got to get the wins for him.
He's been far from selling this year, that's for sure. Like you would buy on Chris Sale at this point. He has been awesome, and no complaints here. I like that pick as well. I think him and then the 2 Phillies are definitely those top 3 right now, and it's insane that they got the top 3 are all in the same damn division.
Yeah, and it should be that way. I'll be honest. I feel like it should be. I mean, really, the way the Phillies are playing, it should be those 2 guys, but then it also should be Chris Sale because, as you said, best non-division leader record in the MLB. Kind of crazy to think about.
Just the NL, because there's still a Yankees. But yeah.
51-39, which is insane. But that'll take me to manager of the year. And I'm going to go, and this one's going to sound bad, but I'm going to go Craig Counsell for the Chicago Cubs. And everybody's going to be like, what are you talking about? You're picking a losing record on this team, and you're going with that going to be a, yeah, exactly.
Pulling that one out of a hat, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I dropped it into a hat and decided, you know what, we're going to go with an underdog here. I don't think the Cubs were supposed to be good. I don't think the Cubs were really supposed to win more than 40 games. They're at 43 wins right now in the season. They're 6 games below 500, 10 games out of the Central, which we all know the Central is a crapshoot when it comes down to the end of the season. Currently on a 5-5 record. At home, their home splits, they have a winning record. They just got to figure out how to win away. 18-28 on the road is not a good record. But that team, what they're able to do right now, a lot of it comes down to Craig Counsell's ability as a coach. We've seen what he did at the Brewers for many, many years there, making them really bringing them back into relevancy after a long time away. Obviously, there were a couple managers in between that did some pretty good stuff, but look, Craig Counsell has had a great career as a manager, much better career than he had at second base. But he is doing a great job so far for the Cubs, and so I'm going to go Craig Counsell for my Coach of the Year.
What's crazy is, as you mentioned, they're not far out of it. They're technically at the bottom of the division right now, but when you compare it to the other two teams at the bottom of their division, they're 11 games up on the Marlins and those other teams. So yeah, they're like the best worst team possible that can, with one good week, could suddenly flip it around and be like 3 games out of the division lead. So they're in the thick of it. And honestly, they were supposed to be that 25 win team at this point, maybe 30 win team. So they've already well exceeded a lot of the expectations I think a lot of people have. At least me. I was not exactly a Cubby when we were doing our predictions.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So that's going to take me to the Rookie of the Year, and this guy didn't start the season in the league, but just like you, I did 10 seconds so far. That's how long it's going to take me to say Paul Skeens, just because the dude has been absolutely insane since coming in the league. I mentioned what my AL Rookie of the Year in Luis Gil was able to do in 18 games. By the way, in 10 games, Paul Skeens has 5 wins and 71 strikeouts. So he already has only 40 less strikeouts in almost half of the starts. That's insane. His ability to throw his pitches where he wants to, his break on the ball, the tunnels that the balls all travel through before breaking are identical for the most part, and his ability to just throw heat and actually be a hoss in today's day and age is kind of insane. Because I literally I feel like just a couple weeks ago I was literally saying there are no, arms in the major league and a starting pitcher that you really ride like you would in the 90s and early 2000s. Like, you don't ride the guys through 8 innings and expect them to get you to 8 and then you just give it over to the closer. You don't do that anymore. Their goal now is get 6 innings and then we'll get to our bullpen. Paul Skeens doesn't think that way. Paul Skeens like, I'm gonna go strike out 27 guys today. That's what it is, and it's okay. Triple-digit fastballs. He has the fastest recorded fastball of the season this year. His minor league numbers before he got called up, he has the fastest recorded fastball in organized major professional baseball in America. Needless to say, he knows what he's doing on and off the diamond.
Absolutely wheeling and dealing and stealing at this point. He's been on fire. I feel like it's not hyperbole to say a future multi-time Cy Young Award winner at this point. Like, I feel like
as long as he stays healthy.
Barring injury. Like, he feels like someone that you could, for his first couple of years, ride to like that 7, 8-ish innings, then hand it over. Like, you could do that early on. They won't do it, but he's someone you could do it early on, then to elongate his career. Then you start doing like the 5, 6 innings, then go to the bullpen. But
yeah, he feels like a young Verlander is what he feels like. Anybody remembers Verlander? Verlander was hitting triple digits early in his career before learning, oh, hey, I don't have to do this every pitch. I can, but to extend my career and to win more games and to stay healthy throughout my career, maybe throwing 95, 96 to start a game is the better option, and then just save my gas for the 7th inning. And then, oh, guess what? By the way, here's triple digits for you while I have 3 more outs to get. That's what I see with Paul Skeens. So it's definitely talent, is to say the least.
I like that comparison a lot. He does remind me of that early Tigers Verlander, like just the one that basically they rode to a World Series against the Cardinals in I think 05, 06. Like, he's got a lot of that in him. Granted, they got a lot of work to do around him to get to that point, but I do think him specifically, like, he's been absolutely outstanding. So no complaints here. We have the same NL Rookie of the Year. We said we'd take 13 seconds. We managed to turn it into a few minutes. Just how awesome.
Don't sleep on the plus 25,000 odds for him to win Cy Young this year either, because at the rate he's going, if Zach Wheeler or Ranger Suarez get injured and Chris Sale doesn't extend what he's doing so far, I mean, if Paul Skeens can keep it up, who knows? So maybe go place $1 and see if you can win 250 off of it.
Don't tempt me.
Exactly. So just to recap, my NL MVP will be Shohei Ohtani. My NL Cy Young, I'm going with Chris Sale. My NL Manager of the Year, Craig Counsell for the Cubs. And my NL Rookie of the Year, Paul Skeens.